first of all, take us through the restructuring plan. What's the progress? Has it been derailed by Omicron?
The company filed for rehabilitation at the end of May 2020, as you know. And since then, we have embarked on the process of restructuring the company. The court itself approved the rehabilitation plan on the 15th of June 2021, and the process simply continued until today. Since then, we have been doing many things. The first thing we have been doing was to negotiate with the creditors to extend the debt payment by most of the debt by 3 to 6 years. There's no haircut, but extending the debt payment would mean cutting the net present value of the debt by 50 or 60%. The second thing we have been doing is to negotiate with the lessors of the aircrafts. We have decided to keep 54 aircrafts, with 4 new aircrafts, 3 aircrafts coming in next month, and returning all other aircrafts to the lessors or sell them off. So that will leave us with a much more efficient fleet with just 4 types of aeroplanes: 7 Boeing 787, A350s, and A320s. In the process, we have been able to negotiate for a substantial reduction in the lease payment. Well, for example, in the initial years, the payment would be by the hour. So if we don't use the aircraft, we don't have to pay the lease. And for the remaining aircraft, some of them are actually very old, haven't been used for quite some time. We will be selling them, and of course, some of them would be returned to the lessors. So that has been able to allow us to save a substantial sum of money, including the renegotiation of the maintenance contracts. We have been reducing the workforce, 29,000 people in the company at the end of 2019. Now we have only 14,700, including the outsourcers, including the employees of our subsidiary Thai Airways. So that is 50% reduction, including the renegotiation of the payment terms of the employees. So that all these have been able to save us quite a substantial amount of money.
Going ahead, will there be a need for Thai Airways to obtain additional funding?
Yes, there will be need for additional funding. So far, we haven't been able to get any funding at all, you know. The Thai government had not provided us with any funding. Banks had not provided us with any funding. So what we had been doing was that we have been selling off some of the unused assets, some of the property, offices, and so on. That had been enable us to survive until now. But we are now looking at new funding from banks, not from the government. But the amount is actually much lower than we had estimated earlier. So the amount we are looking at is now about $750 million. And we hope that we will be able to sign the loan agreement around the end of March of this year. Apart from that, we will allow the creditors to convert the debt to equity, and beyond that, we will be looking towards increasing capital, getting new funding. But the amount, again, is not all that large, you know.
Piyasvasti, Rishaad in Hong Kong, if you could just keep your answers a bit shorter, we haven't got much time. I want to get a sense of when you anticipate Thailand to fully open up. Many countries are going to just take this choice of living with the virus. How will Thai Airlines prepare for that full opening up, and when do you anticipate it happening?
We have been preparing for opening up because the country did actually open up with Test and Go program in November of last year with just 1-day quarantine in November and December. And we saw immediately passengers shooting up. If both destinations, you know, Thailand and the other side open up, you see immediate increase in passenger. Then Thailand clamped down, canceled Test and Go. Then we saw big drop in passenger. Now, Test and Go 1-day quarantine is back. So we believe that passenger traffic will be going up. So it's really, we are waiting for Asian countries to open up. European countries have opened up. So most of the traffic is now between Thailand and Europe. Hopefully, Japan will open up soon. We are not counting on China this year in our plan. Hopefully, China will open up this year.
So, Piyasvasti, that naturally begs the question, are you rehiring staff in anticipation of all this?
We are not rehiring staff, because we actually need a lot less staff than 14,700 with the current traffic. But what we have done is that we are keeping pilots. We are keeping 3,000 cabin crews, but they have agreed to have their pay cut. So we are paying approximately 50% of the salary for the pilots and 47% at most for the cabin crews, rather than to lay them off and then pay the compensation and then hire them back again.
Couldn't be so. What I'm just wondering, post-pandemic, how will Thai Airways look like? What's ideal?
Thai Airways will be a lot more efficient. The cost cutting is enormous. So I believe that if the air traffic returns to normal, we will see profitable Thai Airways. So far, so far so good. The traffic at the moment we are carrying, including Thai Smiles, is approximately 20% of the level before COVID. And we estimate that for this year, on average, income will be about 40 or 50% of the pre-COVID level, but the cost is a lot lower. The employee cost, for example, has come down by, it's just a quarter of what it was back in 2019.